Okay, so in a normal technique, as I teach anyway, pinky and ring finger ideally should be planted firmly onto the head, not necessarily dead straight, but you know, fairly tall in their stance. The arm rests on the armrest. There's an arch in the hand, and the picking begins. Now, if you notice, we get the thumb out of the way. That's kind of a non-consequence right now. What we're looking at here is the fingers. When we come into play, if the index finger is coming into play the second string, thumb's played, index finger is poised, we're going to move from this knuckle here, we bring the finger into the vicinity of the string, and then from this knuckle is where we strike. Same with the middle finger. The main knuckle on the back of the hand brings it into the vicinity. That's all moving from that big knuckle. You see the whole finger swinging there. It brings it into the vicinity, and then the strike comes from this knuckle here. So we come into the vicinity, I'll move that finger out of the way, and we strike there. So thumb, come in and pick, come in and pick. It's a little bit like if any of you have watched an excavator, a digger, and it kind of reaches out and it grabs the soil and hooks it up. It's that kind of motion. Now, what happened with the speed record, I didn't realize it until afterwards, but I'd lost all of that, what I call good technique. The wrist had flattened out. I'd lost the arch in the wrist, that had come down, and consequently the nice strong stance of the ring and pinky finger had collapsed, thereby bringing the whole hand closer to the strings. I was almost catching the palm of the hand on the bridge. And what that does is takes out the roll of the main joint here, takes out 90% of that roll. So instead of that finger being brought into the vicinity of the string by this main joint, it's already there, and all you have to do is that. There's a little bit of that main joint going on, but predominantly it's just striking from this joint here. So instead of this, instead of that kind of movement, you had that going on, and then the whole thing kind of so it's eliminated a lot of the movement of this upper part of the finger, and that is what enabled me to get the speed that I was getting, because essentially I've put the whole hand and the fingers closer to where I need to strike. So I've taken out the travel that you would usually have. Now, in essence, that is bad technique, simply because you're not getting, it's not as clean, it's not as toneful, you're not getting the full tone out of the banjo, and I would imagine if you played for any period of time like that, you'd start getting all kinds of cramp and everything, because you haven't got the bridge in the wrist anymore. But that's essentially the physics behind it. It's kind of taking a striker, in this case the finger. If we put the finger perpendicular over the string and we come from here, we're going to come almost vertical, so to speak, to the string before we strike. But if we were to shorten it, and if we could somehow strike with this part of the finger way up here, you can see it's a far smaller movement. If it was half a finger kind of thing, it would be a far smaller movement to actually have to strike the string. And that in effect is what I did. I say, without realizing at the time, it was just something my hand started to do as I was getting faster. It may have been it may have been brought about through tension even, but that's predominantly what happened. And doing that means the fingers can be right there, ready to play.